Tuesday, October 10th, 2 days after the Cowboys' rough 1989 season saw them fall to 0-5 with a loss at the Green Bay Packers. It's the first season for new owner Jerry Jones and new head coach Jimmy Johnson, and reality has seemingly hit them like a truck. But despite the state of the team, Johnson still had a perk in his step and joined O-line coach Tony Wise's office. The Cowboys coaching staff was off to Valley Ranch for their mobile staff meeting, and Johnson was about to pitch an idea that will change Dallas Cowboys football forever. Johnson and Wise were joined by OC David Shula, DC Dave Wannstedt, trainer Kevin O'Neill, and Bruce Mace. Shula stormed ahead as he typically does, but this was a jog he should have stayed with the group for, as the rest were 6 blocks away from the finish line when Johnson dropped his plan. I told him the only way to fix this thing was to trade our best player. I told him we had to trade Herschel Walker. Needless to say, the reaction to this wasn't kind, with Wannstedt even saying, "After you do that, do you think you can get the Texas A&M job and take us with you?" Walker had become the face of the Cowboys after he took a massive leap in production during the 1988 season, going from 891 yards to 1,514 yards, and the touchdown production remained similar. To me, in hindsight, the Walker hype entering the 1989 season was well overblown. His first 2 seasons were kind of on par to Alvin Kamara's first 2 seasons in the league. And Johnson felt a similar way, but for different reasons obviously. Walker was a power back, whereas Jimmy Johnson preferred the elusive, shiftier backs. Plus, he viewed Walker as a bad fit for team chemistry. Johnson knew the team was going nowhere that season, and the team was on the older side. The Cowboys needed to begin the rebuild, and there was no better time to start it. But there was only one real asset, Herschel Walker. Everyone else thought that Johnson was going to let the idea pass, but a few hours later, Johnson had worked out a deal with Cleveland for Walker that featured a player, 2 firsts, and 3 seconds. Johnson liked the deal, but knew he could be getting more, so he called Mike Lynn and the Minnesota Vikings. The deal he constructed was complicated, involving picks, players, and conditions on said players all being involved. Plus, he gave Lynn a shot clock, being given until 6:30 p.m. to decide, or Herschel Walker goes to Cleveland. The Vikings were coming off of losses in the conference championship and divisional round the past 2 seasons, and they currently sat at 3-2 and felt like Walker could be the piece to get them over the hump. One more step was needed, and that's getting Walker in on it. Jerry Jones would negotiate a $1.25 million exit bonus on top of convincing the Vikings to promise a free house that was comparable to his home in Dallas and a free Mercedes-Benz. Thus, 15 minutes before the self-imposed 6:30 p.m. deadline, the most complicated trade took place, with George Young of the New York Giants even saying the trade agreement may be longer than a Magna Carta. In the end, the Vikings got Walker, the Cowboys' 3rd and 10th round picks in 1990, and a 3rd in 1991. Meanwhile, the Cowboys will get a 1st, 2nd, and 6th in 1990, Jesse Solomon, David Howard, Isaac Holt, Alex Stewart, and Darren Nelson. It doesn't end there though. Conditional picks were made so the Cowboys can add more draft capital if these players were not on the roster by February 1st, 1990. Solomon had a 1991 first attached to him, Howard had a 91 second, Holt had a 92 first, Nelson had a 92 second, and Stewart had a 92 third. The 92 second will be claimed when Darren Nelson refused to report to Dallas and thus was traded to San Diego for a 5th, and that 5th round pick would be sent swiftly to Minnesota. The 92nd third was claimed when Alex Stewart was deemed lazy by Jimmy Johnson and he was waived in November of 1989. As for the other 3, Johnson told his coaches not to play them. This was so it would seem that the Cowboys were going to eventually claim the picks that were attached, so another deal with the Vikings was made. In exchange for 2 picks from Dallas, the Vikings were going to let the Cowboys not only keep the players, but also claim all the conditional picks as well. And with that, Jimmy Johnson had committed what he dubbed the Great Train Robbery. The 1990 2nd round pick would be traded to get a 3rd rounder from San Francisco, and that would be paired with the 1990 1st round pick in order for the Cowboys to trade up to pick 17 and select their new back of the future, Emmitt Smith. The 1966 round pick was traded to the Raiders for Stans Magala. The 91 first was used to get the 1st overall pick given Dallas Russell Maryland. The 91 second was traded to the Oilers for Alonzo Highsmith. The 92 1st and 3rd round picks were used to get the Patriots 1st and 2nd round picks. The 1st would be traded again to the Falcons for the 17th pick, which was Kevin Smith. The 2nd rounder became Darren Woodson. And the 92 2nd rounder was traded for 2 picks from the Chiefs that were then flipped to Washington for the 58th overall pick, which became Clayton Holmes. The Cowboys successfully completed a rebuild in 3 seasons, winning back-to-back Super Bowls with Jimmy Johnson in 92 and 93, and officially became a dynasty in 1995 when they won their 3rd in 4 years. This also gave them a record-setting, at the time, 5th Super Bowl win. Meanwhile, the Vikings will lose to the 49ers in 1989, and Walker will be leaving for Philly after the 1991 season, ending his brief stint with the Vikings with 0 playoff wins. Walker would pass the 1,000-yard mark once more, but it was in 1992 with the Philadelphia Eagles. Jimmy Johnson massively used the hype that Walker had and turned it into a team that very easily could have won more than 3 Super Bowls if relations between Johnson and Jones didn't sour. A trade that faced massive backlash at the time ended up being one of the most lopsided trades in NFL history, having to wait over 30 years to be topped, funnily enough by the team that was supposed to make the trade in the first place, but that is a story for another day. This was one of those trades where I knew going into making this video that it was going to be a very lopsided trade, but I didn't realize just how badly the Vikings got fleeced in this until actually taking the time to look into it more and figure out the finer details of this. And man, this again, very lopsided trade. The Vikings are still kind of paying the price for this today. But with all that being said, thank you all for watching. I'll see you all next time. Have yourselves a damn good one. Peace.